for episode 10 for joined by my furry colleague, Jade Elizabeth. I'm in a little bit of a different setup here today, actually working out of the kitchen. We've had some folks visiting, so I haven't been able to get back into the office, but I'm excited to be here with y'all for episode 10. I should be joined by my colleague, Angie, at some point. We've been having a little bit of technical difficulties on her end with some audio issues, but we'll see if she's able to join here in just a bit. It looks like hopefully she's in here now. We'll check and see. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Great. You are live as well. Okay, so we're just jumping right into it, folks. Angie just joined us. So episode 10, as I had mentioned, wanted to get into, first and foremost, our company value, talk about LinkedIn and marketing for 2023, and then wrap it up with a shout out, which is going to be a surprise from Angie's end because I don't know what we're shouting out today. So we'll have a surprise for everybody at the end. But let's just kick things off with, our company value. Today is just going to be about being grateful. Obviously we're coming up on Thanksgiving. It's timely to just be thankful for what you have, where you are in life, and grateful for all the opportunities and blessings that are around you. I know we take some things for granted. Life flies by. But I think it's really, really important to sit down with your team and your business to really take some time and be grateful for each other. Mark the areas that are areas of opportunity, areas of growth, areas that maybe that you even struggled, but being thankful for the team that's been around you to support you through those challenges. But ultimately, I think it's really, really important time for reflection. So I guess it's being grateful, it's being thankful, but also a time for reflection. So I'd love some of your input, Angie. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a season of gratitude, and I think it should be that all the time because I think we've learned together that when you come from a place of gratitude instead of a place of like lack or a place of anger or a place of whatever, you accomplish so much more just coming from that place of gratitude and everything. Like, even if it's a struggle, what are you learning in the struggle? Because sometimes, or like even if it's an issue with a client and through that issue you were introduced to a new tool, that new tool can be something that launches you in the future. So it's like trying to find the gratitude in things, even when their struggle can end up being something huge in the future that you had absolutely no idea at the time was going to end up being positive. You thought it was like awful. So I think that, I think you and I have learned together to come to try. It's not always easy. A place of gratitude instead of a place of like frustration.
And I think it's
company value, and it's important to us.
It's important, but I also feel it's important to share it because it allows folks to sort of relate and connect with your business. You always have a brand, you always have a business, you deliver a service or you deliver a product. But there's all people that are running that business, and there's folks behind, the scenes that are really, meant to either be a part of the company, drive a service, drive a product, but those people really are the value for the company. And I think having the time to be thankful for those people, it really allows your team to grow together. Take the time to have fun. I think in the next week or so, sit down, have a potluck, have a team meeting, but don't have an agenda. Talk nothing about clients. Discuss being grateful, discuss being thankful, and give that time for some reflection, because I really feel that it's important for us, the time where we are in the world, the time where we are, as society, but also just looking ahead and trying to have a positive outlook is important for leadership from a business perspective, leadership out in the community, but also it's important just to drive that and instill it in your team, because they need to be thankful for themselves. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to have a really fruitful relationship with your entire team. So being grateful is something that we are, I guess a company value. I don't say grateful for being grateful, but it is an area that we really, really, really try to take time and spend reflecting and being thankful, because we have been blessed as a company. Been blessed to have a family that's been supporting a company, and the employees that work for us, our consultants, and ultimately our clients, and the joy that we get to have just by going out and working with them. So that's our company value, being grateful. 'Tis the season, but let's talk about marketing, LinkedIn in specific. So
Yes.
We've been doing a lot of strategy meetings. I mean, that's a big part of our November into December is meeting with our clients and talking about obviously what we've done, reviewing 2022, what worked, what wasn't, but also keeping your finger on the pulse. LinkedIn isn't new by any means. A lot of us are very, very familiar with the platform. In fact, I just was doing some quick stats or pulling some quick stats. There's 830 million users on LinkedIn. And 96% of business-to-business marketers are using the platform. So this is where folks are when we talk about business. So Angie, I just kind of want to let you sort of riff a little bit about, where LinkedIn is and where LinkedIn is going. And then I think we can dive a little bit into some specific areas of opportunity for folks for marketing.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, first of all, you should be preparing your 2023 LinkedIn marketing strategy. And, a lot of times, it is a focus with business to business, so with B2B marketing, but it's growing in just B2C too, because your consumers are on there. Like, regardless of whether you're B2B or B2C, let's just say you're a boutique and you sell clothes for professional women. The professional women are on there, right?
Yep.
So I think that's like super important, first of all, to look at not just from a business perspective, but is your consumer on there? Like, if you are B2C. Second, I think it's, really, really important to understand, to go out there and do some research in your particular field. And what I always say start with is just do a keyword search in your particular field, like keywords related to your field, right? And see what comes up. And what I mean by see what comes up is groups that are related, competition that is related, and then influencer marketing. Like, what are people doing out there in terms of your field, industry, personas? What are they doing to get noticed on LinkedIn? I think that's really, really important to start with that, because if you don't understand that, it's kind of hard to put your own strategy together unless you've been working LinkedIn for a long time.
Yeah. And I think it's important that that's almost what we kind of call is re-optimizing your profile, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's not just your profile. It's like, what are others doing out there? Because it's not just your profile. It's what you're going to do long-term as activity on that particular platform. Like, what are you doing as your activity on that platform? Are you just going to go out there and post? Are you going to reshare what your company posts? Are you going to write articles? Are you going to go live, which we're recommending? Are you sharing video? How are you engaging? Who are you following? Are you using their, messaging opportunities to potential clients? Like, all of that, and then have that strategy in place, and then don't bite off more than you can chew. So we talk about that all the time, regardless of what platform, but there's no reason to put together this elaborate strategy if you simply can't do it. So biting off the things that you're willing, like we just had that conversation, right, with a client, like what are they willing, what are they able to do, right? On there, if they're not able to do it, why start, right? But I just
and I feel as if when you're listening, you may think that this is, geez, where do I start? And that's why we're trying to give you sort of that foundation is take a look, first and foremost, is do your research, re-optimize your profile based on what is effective in your industry, what others are doing effectively, give yourself a little bit of a content calendar, and start with that. It doesn't need to be a content calendar that has every single day filled out for every single month or every single week for 2023. No, we're talking about give yourself an overarching calendar filled with some topics, and then take a look at, okay, if this is my topic for the quarter, what am I going to talk about in January, February, March? That's it. You're good. As you approach January, get a little bit more granular within the week so you can have a bit more relevancy, but your topics are already decided for you, which is a really, really big part of the problem. Is no one, when they come to us, no one typically has a content calendar that they've utilized, or if they have a content calendar, they're not using it to its full effectiveness. So I think that's really, really important, is building out that content counter, because to Angie's point, it will help you establish what you can do and not biting off more than you can chew.
Yes.
But that's also why there's folks like Yazoo, and we are here to help you when it comes from a strategic perspective to figure out what is an area of opportunity and maybe is not an area for you to spend, because we've seen either we've tested it with other clients, we've seen it in research, or we know that maybe there's other viable opportunities elsewhere. So, some of the things that you can look at when we talk about beyond your own use of LinkedIn, how do you use it from a marketing generation or lead gen tool, right? So I'm just going to throw out a couple things, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds with them, but that you can do articles for pages. You can have showcase pages, which allow you to establish an area that you can give a bit more detail about specific services or brands or products that your company provides. So you would have your company profile, for example. And then for Yazoo, something that we're looking to do in 23 is build a showcase page that will be strictly around strategy. Maybe there's a showcase page strictly around generating awareness, strictly around lead generation. But as those would apply to your business, that gives you an area to spend a bit more time specifically talking about a one topic versus your company as a whole, right? So that's showcase pages. The other areas, if you're willing to get in and do a little bit of additional spend, there is LinkedIn ads. In 2022, LinkedIn sort of rechanged themselves when it comes to B2B marketing. The ability to do ads is different than it was before. It's not just through the use of InMails. So I think it's important to take some time and explore LinkedIn ads, particularly if you are a B2B business. And then last but not least is omni-channel follow-up, which is, I know, an area that Angie will get really, really excited about. An area that we just talked about yesterday with a client is, what do you do outside of LinkedIn? Or what do you do when someone connects with you on LinkedIn? What is that next step, right? You can always connect with them on LinkedIn, but how do you go to the next level to generate a meaningful conversation? So have a follow-up on email a week after you've connected with them on LinkedIn, just to sort of bring yourself back to top of mind, but also closing the loop full circle to letting know that individual that you're really interested in talking to them. The area that this is sort of showing success is because, as I'm sure most of you have experienced if you're on LinkedIn, InMail is getting kind of crazy. There's a lot of it. And folks are now transitioning to going to ads, driving folks to connect with your page, and then doing the individual follow-up once they've connected, either through LinkedIn and then supplementing that with channels outside of LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I just want to say, it is still okay to use LinkedIn messaging, like InMail, and not do it as a large ad InMail, and do it as a real person. And in fact, this is actually a strategy for some people. So if your company is not massive, and you're a small, like the size of Yazoo, you're building, you have a couple employees, some consultants, it makes sense for you to reach out personally to people, and to say like this, because you can tell when it's a sponsored InMail, versus when it's a real person reaching out to you and saying, hey, listen, I would love to connect. And yeah, there's a possibility that you might be interested in our tool, but we also would just like to connect with you. I'm super interested in your business. And like, be real. So there's this like drive back towards, and it becomes a strategy in and of itself. How do you be real on LinkedIn versus being so marketing heavy?
Or salesy.
And we're seeing that across platform though. That's not just LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it, it's kind of like, we went to, and obviously there's a lot of phenomenal technologies, a lot of phenomenal opportunities to build automated funnels, a lot of opportunities to use artificial intelligence, which that's a whole nother strategy thing for 2023, using those technologies, using artificial intelligence, being able to have stuff automated for you, effective automation. But there's also this need for people to deeply connect again. So LinkedIn, I feel, is one of the platforms you can do it. And I really believe if you're willing to take the time, even if it's 2 hours a week where you set aside 2 hours and you say, and then the other thing I'll say, and then I'll kind of like be quiet about it. But the one thing that I will say, that this goes back to an experience with me personally. And I have to get back to this myself because I've been really, really lax since COVID, but I was writing a lot of articles on LinkedIn and watching how that worked, that, let's call it an algorithm, worked, and learning quite a lot about that. And, going from, having a few views of an article to having, hundreds and hundreds of views of articles, and being really excited about that. But one of the people I was following, an influencer on LinkedIn, I'll never forget, I watched a video and they were saying, I was just about to give up on this platform and walk because I had done 12 months of these videos on here and these articles and not getting somewhere. And then I just said, nope, I'm not giving up on this. And they took off and they were a massive influencer. And that really spoke to me. And that really spoke to me because we see that in strategy so many times where you can tell somebody's just about to take off. Like, been so consistent, so committed, they're right there. And then they just go, I can't take this anymore. It's not working. And they back completely off and they never know what didn't happen.
And that is an area that becomes frustrating, not only for an agency that you may be working with, but for the company as well, because you go back to look at the data and you just don't have an answer. There's really not a true reason why it did or did not work. So giving it the full opportunity to take off, I think, is really important too. And we talk about that too when you look at your strategy, being able to commit to it. Obviously, we know that things change. There may be a brand new social media channel in 2023 or platform in 2023 that everybody is flocking to. But committing to a strategy up front is crucial to allowing your marketing to take hold, to get grassroots, to get data back, because then you can dial in your messaging and your positioning and your branding as a whole. So we always try to start with that. Are you willing to commit to something, or do you have the palate to be able to commit to something? Because if not, we don't want to start something together and then get halfway through and have to break the process up and never have an answer on the route that we were going and what was and what wasn't successful. So that's another big topic for right now. What can you commit to?
And here's the other thing that I just recalled from his video was saying, if it's not hurting you, you can keep doing it. So that's a question that people say, well, what do well, am I supposed to commit for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? You're supposed to commit forever unless it's hurting you. Yeah. And so there are some things in a strategy that you have to stop because you can't afford them. There's bad publicity out there or something.
Sure.
But if it's not hurting you, and in this case, what he was saying was on LinkedIn, it wasn't hurting him. He had carved out that time, X amount of hours a week to do it. It wasn't hurting him. In fact, he was getting some engagement. And then all of a sudden it took off. So his answer was, to how long is you just forever if it's not hurting you and you can afford to do it. Like,
exactly.
If this is something where you're spending a lot of budget on and you have to see immediate results, that's not what I'm talking about. But like LinkedIn organic engagement, using the tools that Eli talked about, if it's not hurting you, you keep doing it. And it might be month 13 that it explodes, so that's the thing about it. And that's, I think, what he was really driving home is oftentimes it's like the timing we don't totally get or totally understand. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes it is truly just timing. I mean, it can be an oddball sometimes with marketing, and that is why we always say being able to have a palate to commit to something is really important when we talk about testing strategies. So if you guys are out there, you're looking to test the waters in LinkedIn, or you're already in LinkedIn and you want to revamp your strategy for 2023, we're here to help you. We're here to talk, whether you want to do a strategy session, a one-off discovery, or even look and discuss what it would be for us to help you for the next year in 2023 in LinkedIn space. We'd love to have those conversations. And if you're looking to just strategize in general, that's also a conversation that we would love to have. So we're here for y'all in the world of marketing, in the world of strategy. But let's wrap this thing up with a fine thing shout out. So I want to throw it to you, and I'm going to put some pressure on you for a shout out. I have one in my back pocket if you don't have one.
Well, I have one, but it's kind of, it's not a client and it's not a product or anything. It's a person. I kind of would like to shout out Nick on our team.
Yep.
With website.
Yeah.
I just think that, you know, as I've been thinking about gratitude and who's been a difference maker on our team and who I believe is going to help us in the future with some of the goals we have for the next 2 to 3 years. He's somebody that I just believe in, and, you know, he has his own business, and he's part of our agency from a consulting perspective, and maybe that'll even grow even more in the future, but that's like a super shout out. And I'd love you to kind of share about him, because I think that's huge.
Nick, and it's Nick Bowden. He's with Alkali Design, and I've actually just stumbled across Nick in doing some research for myself into the growth of agency and trying to find a partner that I can really, really lean into from a web design perspective. We do a lot at Yazoo within WordPress, but it's never enough to have a partner, you know, or never enough to do it yourself. You should always have a partner to help you stay on the leading edge, keep your finger on the pulse on what's out there in website, because it's not all just WordPress. There's other platforms out there like Webflow, and Nick has that expertise. He has that insight, and he can really lead a discussion when it comes to deciding on what platform you may want to be on from a website build perspective. He's got a fabulous design eye. And when it comes to bringing things together from, you know, a structure perspective and understanding the technical nuances from an SEO perspective and doing some of the back end on page versus off page optimization, that all is part of website design. He's a fantastic expert in that space, and it's been awesome to work with him. And, you know, that's the reason for the shout out. So Nick, we're grateful for you. We appreciate all the work on the projects that we have going together. And I know it's going to be an even more fruitful 2023. So I'm looking forward to meeting with you tomorrow as well. But the other shout out that I wanted to just quickly throw in is near and dear to my heart. If you guys are in the Altoona area and you need a stocking stuffer, get an Austin's gift card. Austin's Texas Hot Dogs down by Del Grosso's. We're doing holiday gift cards. So stop into the shop, get yourself a hot dog, but also get a stocking stuffer for your favorite dedicated dogger. You know, it's the season. We will be closed for Thanksgiving, but we're going to be open back up, and I think we're closing again as we get closer to the holiday season in December. But if you're in the area, stop in, get a hot dog, get a gift card. So shout out Austin's Texas Hot Dogs, and shout out Mr. Nick Bowden. We appreciate you, sir, and we love those hot dogs, Austin's. So appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been an awesome episode. Hard to believe we are at actually episode 10. I did not think that we would be getting back to 10 this quickly, but hopefully we can pick up the pace and maybe do a little bit more as we get into 2023. We'll be checking back in with you all, though, before we wrap up 2022. So stay tuned for our next episode. We'll be finishing up 2022 in December with episode 11. You have comments on topics you want to look forward to in December or in 2023, drop us a comment. We'd love to kind of take a look and strategize together to give you guys the most useful tips and insight that we can provide. So appreciate y'all. And if you have anything, drop us a note, dive on in. Enjoy your afternoon, everybody, though, and happy early Thanksgiving. We appreciate y'all.